Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And I apologize. I know there was at least one person who did come on yesterday, probably more than one person. I'm sorry. I forgot that I had a bris in the morning, so it wasn't in the shorts, and I hadn't mentioned it on Friday. There was a side brief that went out on Sunday, but I apologize for anybody who hadn't realized that we weren't meeting yesterday. Thank you for sticking with us today. So beginning with chapter 37, verse 3, and the Torah focuses on the unique relationship between Yaakov and Yosef. Yaakov, of course, had 12 sons, and he had a very special and unique relationship with Yosef. And that special relationship is clearly part of the backdrop for the very unfortunate event which occurs with the brothers and selling of Yosef, etc. Chapter 37, verse 3. V'Yisrael ahavas Yosef mikol banav. It says explicitly in the Torah that Yisrael loved Yosef more than his sons, than all of his sons. Kiven zekunim hu lo. Very difficult phrase. Zekunim seems to be related to the word zakan. Zakan is to be old. So something about a child of old age. Can you hear me okay? Are you hearing background noise? You can hear me okay? Okay. The asalok sones pasim. And he made this unique garment. This normally it's referred to as the coat of many colors. He made it for Yosef as a special gift for him. But what is the significance of Ben Zekunim, a child of old age? What does that even mean? So let's see the Ramban and Pasuk Gimel. Kiven Zekunim Hulo. So he starts off by citing Rashi, Shenolad Lo Be'esik Naso, that Yaakov had Yosef at an advanced age. So he had a special relationship with Yosef because he was older when he had Yosef. That's the first pshat. V'unkelis tirgem are barcha kim hule shekoma shalomad b'shem ve'ever masar lo. There's a very famous idea that the Gemara says that zakein could be understood as an acronym of sorts. Zakein, which means an elderly person, could also be understood as zeh shekana chachma, a person that's acquired wisdom. So there is an association of the word zakein not only with age, but with wisdom. So the Onkelos says that he was a child of wisdom, meaning that Yaakov saw Yosef as a child to whom he could impart all the remarkable things he learned in the yeshiva of Shem and Aver. So the first shot is he had him when he was older. Second shot is he was a child that had a unique dynamic that he could impart to him all of this wisdom that he had learned over the years. Davar Acher, third pshat, Shayaziv Kunin Shalo Doma Lo Lashon Rashi. Third pshat in Rashi is they looked remarkably similar. V'chein Amar Rabbi Avram Kiven Zekunim Sholido Liskunav. The Vayeishev says that he had him at an elderly age. V'hu ben Tishim v'achas shana. That Yaakov was 91 years old when Yosef was born. V'gam Achiv Binyamin Karo Yeled Zekunim Katan. But Binyamin is referred to in the story at some point with the brothers. Binyamin is referred to as a Yeled Zekunim Katan, which the Vayeishev says presumably means Binyamin was born even after Yosef, of course, that he was a child of elderly age for his father. So it's a similar idea. So the Vayeishev says it means he had him at an old age. Says Ramban, I don't think this pshat is right. Ki akasav amar sha'ah b'es Yosef mikol banav ba'avur shehu ben zekunim. What you're telling me he had a special relationship with Yosef because, according to you, he was old when Yosef was born. V'gam kol banav noldu lo b'zekunav. I got news for you. All of his children were born when he was elderly. Yisachar and Zvulun, for example, were a year or two older than Yosef. So what? There was just a cutoff point. Any child 91, when the father's 91 and older, that's where you've got a special relationship. If the father's only like 89, nah, it's not so. I mean, what in the world does it mean? So the Ramban finds this very difficult. V'anira be'enai ki minag as kanim sheikhu echad mibneim haktanim lios imo l'shorso. So the Ramban says, I think the pshat is that it was a common thing for an elderly person to take one of his younger children to be like an aide and attendant to him. V'unishan al yado tamid, that he can always lean and rely on him. Lo yipard b'menu, like always around to help out the elderly parent. V'unikra lo bein zkunav So the Ramban says, I think the pshat is not that it's a description of how old Yaakov was when Yosef was born, not that it's a description that he imparted wisdom to him, but rather it was the child that Yaakov depended on in Yaakov's elderly age. They had a unique relationship. He could always count on him. For whatever reason the dynamic was, who knows why, but Yaakov chose Yosef in this way, so therefore they cultivated a very unique relationship. Do you ever wonder, says the Ramban, we're going to talk about this later in the parsha, probably tomorrow, that the whole story of the brothers throwing him in the pit begins that they had gone off to the field to shepherd the flock, and Yaakov sends Yosef to check on them. So what? All the brothers except for Yosef, again, Binyamin's very young, but all the brothers except for Yosef are out in the field and Yosef's not? Why isn't Yosef out in the field? What's different about Yosef? So says the Ramban, we already learned it in the puzzle. Because Yosef's regular detail was to be the Ben Zekunim. His father needed somebody to lean on. His father needed someone to reach the high spots, and so on and so forth. His father was an elderly man. So that was Yosef's story. The Ramban actually disagrees with Rashi's understanding of Unclus. Unclus says part of the challenge of Unclus is he's very brief, he's very terse. So Unclus says Bar Hakim, literally a child of wisdom. So Rashi says what Unclus means by that, he was a child to whom Yaakov imparted much wisdom. The Unclus says the pshat is he saw him as being a unique intellect. He saw him as having an innate wisdom within him. So he was attracted to him. Okay. Okay, so that's more or less the Ramban here. Let's go to the Kli Yakar. Kli Yakar on Pasuk Gimel. Yisrael Ohavis Yosef Mikol Banav Kiven Zekunim Hulo. Afa pi shenemar v'unaris b'nei Vilha she'osa masa narus k'mosam. We did not see this, but there's a Rashi on the previous pasuk. It says in the verse that he was a lad with the children of Bilhah and Zilpah. What does it mean he was a lad with them? So Rashi says the pshat is osei moya masa narus. He conducted himself in a less than mature way with them. The normal way it's understood, he was kind of very interested in his physical appearance and this and that. So the Kli Yakar is bothered. I mean, it's literally consecutive psukim. On the one hand, we say he's acting in sort of a less than mature manner with them. And the other hand, we say Yaakov has this very special relationship with him. Like, will the real Yosef please stand up? Which one is it? Mikol makom oavo Yaakov. Nevertheless, Yaakov had a very special affection for him. Lefi shebi yoso etzlo haya misnaiges atzmo kizakin v'ragelu pirko noya v'lo yada haragaso shim echav. Alkein amar b'kiven zekunim hu lo. Really interesting pshat. He says, look at the pasuk. He doesn't say that Yosef was a ben zekunim, a child of wisdom or a child of old age. He says he was a ben zekunim to him, meaning in their interactions between Yaakov and Yosef, Yosef conducted himself with a unique level of maturity. Now, it happens to be that in his interactions with the children of Bilhah and Zilpah, Yosef was very different. But there was something about the dynamic with Yaakov that brought out another part of Yosef. So that's just an interesting pshat. The Kli Yakar says, I'm skipping 2 or 3 lines. The Kli Yakar says, it could be that he didn't want to conduct himself differently. The Kli, you don't have to necessarily say he was like some chameleon. The Kli Yakar says maybe the pshat is he was very good at understanding the surroundings of the situation, and he was very good at fitting it in the context. So when it was with his less sophisticated brothers, he was one way, and when it was with his very sophisticated father, it was a different way. Just an interesting pshat. Yesh omrim, there's another pshat. Shekoma shalomad min shem ve'ever masarlo. The other pshat is everything that he learned from the yeshiva of Shem Ve'ever he imparted to Yosef. So the Kli Yakar asks, why wouldn't he teach all of his sons what he learned from Shem Ve'ever? Why would he only teach it to one son? They weren't interested. They weren't interested. He wanted to talk about this, want to talk about that. They just weren't into it. I think we can. I don't think we have to project some terrible wickedness here upon the other sons. I think many of us can relate to this, whether as a parent or as a child. Many times, a parent has a unique fascination for certain disciplines, for certain subjects, and it doesn't resonate with their children. And it's very, sometimes it's a little frustrating for the parent. But if they have a child that it really resonates with, that cultivates probably a special situation. So the Kli Yakar says that's the pshat. Avol Yosef ben Zkunim hulo shetamidu panalo Yaakov. Yosef was constantly turning to Yaakov. He was fascinated in the theology that Yaakov had studied in Shem Ve'ever. And so he was always asking for more. So Yaakov had a special relationship with him. Okay. So to just to sum up, we have pshatim. It could be that Yaakov was elderly when he had Yosef. The Ramban says it means that Yaakov counted on Yosef in his old age. It could be that the pshat is that Yosef conducted himself with a unique wisdom with Yaakov. And the Kli Yakar points out, and it could very well be that with his brothers, particularly the children of Bill and Zilpah, he conducted himself in a very different way. And it could also be that Yaakov imparted a unique amount of wisdom to Yosef. And the Kli Yakar says, and the reason why that could be, very well might be because he was more interested than the other brothers. Okay, let's jump ahead to verse 9. Yosef has two dreams. The first dream was the dream about the stalks, the 11 stalks bowing to one stalk, 11 bundles of wheat bowing to one bundle of wheat. He tells his brothers, this of course is supposed to mean that ultimately his brothers will all bow down to him. His brothers are not impressed and they're very disturbed by this dream. Now in verse 9, it says, Vayachalom od chalom acher. He then dreamt another dream. Vaysapero solecha. Then he shared it with his brothers. Vayomer yinei chalamti chalom od. I had this dream, the sun and the moon and 11 stars are bowing to me. Now it's more than 11 now. There are other beings also bowing to him. And that presumably is a reference to his father and mother. Verse 10, Vaysapero laviv v'elechav. He told his father and his brothers. Now this is confusing because in verse 9 he already told his brothers. And now in verse 10 he tells his brothers again. In verse 10 he tells his father about the dream. He didn't tell his father about the first dream. So we have two questions. Why does he only tell his father about the second dream? And why does he tell his brothers twice about the second dream? Vayigar bo aviv, his father shouted at him. Vayomer lo, he said to him, Moach halom hazeh asher chalamta. What is this dream that you've dreamt? You think we're all going to come to bow down to you? Come on. Now, his brother's frustration with it, we can certainly understand as being jealousy. Why is his father angry at him? It sounds from the pasuk that his father is angry at him. Vayigar, translate Vayigar, it's to shout. It's not necessarily a volume of voice, but the point is to really kind of let him have it. I mean, he's telling him a dream. What do you want from him? Do you want him to not have dreams? What's the issue exactly? What's his father's disappointment with him? So we'll talk about these points tomorrow, God willing. Again, we spoke today about different pshatim, what it means to be a ben zkunim, and we posed some questions regarding the specific psukim of Yosef relating his second dream to his brothers and his father.